So I'm going to try to run through the same exercises again, but I changed my strings, so I'm going to keep on trying to tune up multiple times until they stretch in here. Lovely. Alright. So I'm still kind of thinking on the warm up, I want to continue with this idea of upstrokes. And I'm thinking, like, I kind of want to, like, I was messing around last night of really trying to almost see the chord from the bottom string. Because normally we see a chord. Let me try to move this over. Normally we build the chord when we're thinking about it. I would think from the top string, bar chord. So my root's up here, which leads to a downstroke. But we should be able to name each chord, even a normal chord like by the bottom string. And that's another thing I've been working on with my theory kind of ideas. Meaning that if I have a triad like this A minor, it seems to me that the root I'm usually thinking of is right there, but I should be able to name that chord by any other root, right? So that's an Aeolian chord to me. But if the highest pitched string is this Ionian, so I should be able to name it from the perspective of the Ionian. It seems to me, right? Like because I could, if I'm looking at that as the root in what I'm playing, then I should be able to explain that. And how would I do that? Well, it would be like, I would like to name the chord an Ionian, and then the sixth is out here, which is the fifth modal half step. So it'd be an Ionian 5 modal half step minus the third has been removed, and because there's no third in it, right? So something like that. I don't want to get too into it because I haven't got my coffee yet, because that'll confuse people off the top, and I'll probably look stupid. But the point is, I should be able to name it if I'm looking at that as the root. Like if that's what I'm seeing as the root as an upstroke, I should be able to name every chord from the perspective of each node in the chord, I feel like. Trying to target, rest my pick on that bottom string. me check my tuning again. It's got to be out of whack. Yeah. play with in G because it's got that big chord if I got the new strings on it. Warm them all up. Gotta warm them all up. It's out of whack already. They're out of whack. Being out of whack is only good when you're trying to dodge a punch in a boxing match or something. Then it's good to be out of whack distance. I try to be out of whacking distance. Gotta write that down. That's good right there. Be out of whack. Being out of whack's not good unless you're trying to dodge a punch in a boxing match or something. Then of course you want to be out of whacking distance. You want to be able to whack, but be out of whack at the same time. Alright, so now I'm going to try to really dig in with the up pick. So now I'm kind of focusing on this string as my root, and I'm trying to lean my pick back this way so that I could like try to get 3 strings instead of just 2 on the up pick. So I'm kind of just resting on the down and then kind of snapping it, resting my finger on the up, my pick underneath that low string or the high pitched string closest to the floor. It's kind of hurting my thumb. I need my tape. I was doing this last night. It hurt my thumb. I need some. Not that tape. This is gonna hurt my. Put some masking tape on it. That'll be better. Masking tape, good, because it like rips a little bit so it doesn't get too tight. Let's see what that does. Punches the skin up down here a little bit. That's not comfortable. I'm going to try to do just, I'm seeing this bottom note as my anchor, and then I'm going to do double stops back along this string, but I'm doing upstrokes, aggressive upstrokes, or at least that's my emphasis. Wait a sec. Try to throw 3 strings in there from time to time so it'll mix up my pattern. I'll see if as I bring this back I can throw 3 strings in with an aggressive 3-string upstroke. How many strings can I get in there with one upstroke? Thing I was thinking as I was messing with this is that we're pretty good at using that bass string, at least some people are, to remain in that key. So, but you would think you can do a similar thing with the high-pitched E, although it's not going to be on the floor on the bass, but if you keep going back to it, it could still be your reference point, I would feel like. Now let's try pointer finger. Back to the pointer finger upstroke here. And then I'm going down this string with an aggressive upstroke. And maybe I can add a note on top, although that was quite ugly. After that, I don't know. Let's try going to the string above it with an aggressive upstroke. So now anchor here, go back this way with an aggressive upstroke. Out of whack. seems to be sticking now. Alright, so enough of that. Let's go back. Let's try to do a joke break, and then I'll get into the normal stuff. So I've been watching the politics again. I watched Tucker Carlson interview Huckabee, and I'm convinced that Tucker is the biggest weapon of the far left at this point because of the wolf in sheep's clothing routine. You could tell by his hair. I don't think that's real. It's sheep hair. He's got sheep hair on there. And it's like, because you could tell, because if you're like, we got to pull the plug on this guy. When they said, at Fox, when they said, we got to pull the plug on this guy, he grabbed his head and was like, no, not my hair plugs. And you see, you could tell it's sheep's hair. And so, anyways, I feel like it's pretty clear, that he's quite aggressive with a guy like Huckabee and a guy like who is the last guy that he did this to? I don't know, but it was annoying. And then he's really light on people like Putin and like Nick Fuentes. He gives them softballs as though he's a CNN interviewer, like interviewing Biden, who's actually snoring during the interview. And then he goes hard. He like nitpicks. Like he tries to manipulate these people to make them look stupid. And he's better at it. The thing is, he's doing the same thing as like a CNN reporter, like a Rachel Maddow, except he's good at it. And he's got the sheep's clothing on. So you put those three things together, then he's quite effective. And I don't see how Huckabee doesn't like realize it at this point. Like the guy's crouching out the door. If you just let him in as though like he's like nice or something, that's not going to go. You got to be ready. You got to be ready for that. You got to be ready for this guy. I don't know what they're thinking. Anyways, so I was like, let me see. So this might be a little bit of crude humor, because Clinton's in it, and obviously if Bill Clinton's in it, you can't help but being a little bit. So if that's offensive, you could may want to fast forward. It's not too bad, I don't feel like, but who knows what's bad anymore. American presidential status started going downhill when society told Bill Clinton, it's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. It's time to take a long, hard look in the mirror. And he agreed. And he said, no problem. Just as soon as he remembered where he left his Viagra. And, and the fact that this kind of thing can be said with like no like second thought. It's like, with a straight face. You'd think it'd be a joke. But no, that's how. So that was the moment. That was the moment. Didn't he win another election after taking that long, hard look in the mirror? Yeah, whatever. That's when something shifted. The integrity of the office didn't collapse entirely. It just got a little shriveled at that point. It's still there, just less imposing than it used to be. Like something that once commanded respect until the temperature changed. I mean, people say it was Watergate that brought down the political, prestige or the sense of like political, like, I don't know, accountability or how you should do things or something. Watergate, that's what the left will tell you. But no, I don't think so. Watergate was serious. Watergate was like cloak and dagger stuff. You're like, okay, men in suits whispering into tape record. It felt adult at the time. Clinton was more like, hey, what I do in the Oval stays in the Oval. It was more like kind of out, like it was more like whatever, dude, like kind of thing. It was like that's when the the stuff shifted. That's when the tone changed. There was a tone change somewhere, and ever since, everything's been this weird mix of childish and deadly serious. We've got these games that seem to be completely childish on the one hand, the way they're conducted, but they're deadly serious on the other hand. It's a weird kind of thing. So, like for example, the tariff standoff with the rest of the world example. Again, I don't want to get it. I mean, I have my opinions on the tariffs and whatnot, but the way the policy is implemented seems a little. It's a little kind of like, again, like a Twitter spat kind of formatting of it. It seems kind of weird. The tone seems weird. It looks less like trade policy and more like global member measuring. It's a global member measuring contest, and our economy's bigger. It's like, oh yeah, well ours has more leverage, and this is geopolitics now. But whatever, America's gonna win. America's gonna win. Because why? Because if this comes down to like a member measuring contest, we definitely have the biggest weenie. We've definitely got the biggest weenie. That would be, of course, Tucker Carlson. This guy's the biggest frickin' weenie that you've ever seen, whining, hackling, laughing like a crazy person. You can't beat the size of this weenie, Bet the house on it. There's no way Europe finds a bigger weenie than Tucker. Not a chance. Trump's done some great stuff, but again, I still feel like the tone is not quite right. I'm hoping, he was the change agent, so I'm hoping, maybe that's what we needed during this kind of chaotic period, so because he's the only one that could really stand the legal political warfare that was being conducted in the courts and whatnot. But hopefully, I'm thinking now, hopefully he passes the torch. Obviously, I don't think I could do any better. Obviously, I wouldn't. I'm not thinking I could bring the child. Could I bring the childishness down if I was there? No, probably not. But I still feel like someone could. There's got to be someone out there, and I'm hoping what's needed in this time. But I'm hoping Marco Rubio. I'm thinking Marco Rubio can steer us back towards a more Reagan-esque tone, taking the wins possibly, and kind of somehow doing it back into like that more professional range. I know I'm whining here about, I'm not saying Trump did a bad job or anything. I'm just saying it would be nice if we could get like a little bit more of a Reagan-esque tone. But, as long as we don't go back to the Joe Biden tone, a flat tone in the White House, there's no tone in the Oval, that has more of a chance. I mean, look at this guy. This guy couldn't even pull the pin out of the map without causing a mess, right? He'd try to pull the pin out, he'd spill coffee all over it. So as long as that doesn't happen, we have a chance, but whatever. I wrote a song about it.
American prestige started sliding downhill when the culture said, Bill, take a long hard look, be real. He said, sure thing, with a confident grin, just as soon as he found where he left the medicine. That was the moment something shifted gear. Didn't he win again that very next year? Integrity didn't die, didn't totally croak, it just shrank a little still there, just less oak. Like something that once stood proud and tall till the temperature dropped in the Oval Hall. They say it was Watergate, cloak and tape, men in dark suits, ceiling fade, but that felt heavy, that felt a dope. This felt like, relax, it's my vault. That's when the tone changed, something snapped from statesman's voice to a middle school scrap. Now it's childish postures with nuclear stakes, serious faces making playground takes. We're running the world like it's recess time with GDP graphs and needle lines. Take our tariff standoff, global debate looks less like policy, more like who's great. Our economy's bigger, ours is leverage. Sounds like a locker room trade advantage. This is geopolitics, is this the plan? Two continents arguing like a garage band. But whatever, America's bound to prevail. We got the loudest megaphone in the moment demands fire and thunder and rallying bands. Obviously, I'm not setting the tone. I'm just a guy with a mic and a loan. But maybe someone steady at the wheel could bring back the sunrise appeal. Reagan simmered, polished steel, less Twitter storm, more handshake deal. Final just don't give me that flatline drone where the pulse of the room feels overthrown. No more sleepy afternoon debate. The world's too loud for a sedate state. Keep the heart beating, keep it alive. Less ego duel, more steady drive. We've had the circus, we've had the flame. Can we try grown up cool again?
All right. Cackling weenie. Ugh. All right. Anyways, let's see. All right. Let's get back to work. All right. So I'm going to go back here. So we were on this one. Okay, let's go back to collection of notes at 4 o'clock. All right, I'm at 4 o'clock. Collection of notes around the key of C. We're at pinkies on the 8th fret. First string down from the ceiling is Ionian. 5th fret, first string down the ceiling is Aeolian. This would be shape number 1. And then we're on the 5th fret, third string down from the ceiling. That's going to be a G. So that's going to be our G, the star of G, which happens to be in the collection of notes around the key of C. 4 o'clock, a mixolydian. So we have the mixolydian here. And I'm doing a lean back chord defined by the second modal half step or third scale degree behind it. Now these two are in the ocean. Why? Because I was just on Locrian. So all 3 of these are in the ocean as compared to the Locrian, meaning if this was the middle node, these would all land on a continent. But now we switch to the mixolydian, which has a different distance to all the continents around it from Locrian. So we know that the third modal half step, we know that mixolydian's second modal half step or third scale degree is a long third as opposed to the Locrian's short third. Or in other words, major versus minor, 4 notes away instead of 3 notes away. So that's going to be 7, meaning 5, 6, 7 is 2 modal half steps up from the mixolydian if there's only 7 nodes. All right, so then we know that the 5th for the mixolydian 5th is a long 5th as opposed to a short 5th, which you might call a perfect 5th, whereas the Locrian has a short 4th modal half step 5th scale degree, or a flat 4th modal half step 5th scale degree if you want to call it that. So the 4th modal half step up from mixolydian would be 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So that's going to be the Dorian, which is 7 notes away. And then we know that the 7 actually is still on the continent. So that is actually in the same relative position as when we were on Locrian, because the mixolydian has a short 6th modal half step 7th scale degree, which you might call a minor 6th modal half step 7th scale degree, as does the Locrian. But the 9 is the 8th modal half step or 9th scale degree, which is equivalent from a local distance to the 1st modal half step 2nd scale degree, is in the ocean again. Why? Because mixolydian has a long 2nd modal half step 3rd scale degree, which is equivalent to the 8th modal half step 9th scale degree if you take octaves out of consideration. So we have to say that it's going to be over here then. So meaning the 9, and that's the one we're focused on in particular. So I'm defining this as a lean back chord because the second modal half step, third scale degree, nodal point 7 there is in the lower left quadrant. So I can make 4 basic quadrant chords defined by where the first modal half step or second modal half step, third scale degree is. Okay, so that shape, I'm focused on this one, which is the eighth modal half step, ninth scale degree. So that means that the Aeolian is always the eighth modal half step or ninth scale degree of it's always Mixolydian eighth modal half step, Mixolydian ninth scale degree. If we're 8 modal half steps up, that's over 7. Therefore, we've gone around the circle. So 8 minus 7 would be 1 modal half step up, which would be the second scale degree. 1 modal half step, 5 to 6, has a long distance as opposed to a short distance, or major distance as opposed to a minor distance there. So that's going to be the idea. So we'd be leaning back into this shape. And I can grab that one there, possibly drop the 5. Possibly drop the 5. So then if I did that, I can maybe still get the 7 and the 9. Second modal half step, ninth. Or I drop the 7. Okay, so now let's say I want to move this back so that the star of G here, I don't take my finger off it, but underneath it, I want to make it the Phrygian. So how can I do that? Well, I can find the Phrygian on the same string, and that will mean that it'll be the same shape as I lean forward. So if I look at it on this string, then I'm leaning forward. That Phrygian is leaning forward. Anytime the Phrygian is third string down from the ceiling, then I'm leaning forward into what I would call shape number 5, which you might call the Mixolydian shape by this node, or you might call the Ionian A shape from a caged system. And if I play through the scale from there, I'm not going to make it a 1, I'm going to keep it 3, so that I don't, because making it 1 is stupid. So it'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Now if I pulled that shape up here as though that 5 is a 3, it'd be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So that means that if I do that, then I would be if my finger's on the star of G, and from space, it's on space, but the planet is spinning underneath it, then I can rotate 1, 2, 3 steps to the right. If I'm at 4 o'clock plus 3 would give me 7 o'clock, and that would be D sharp, collection of notes around D sharp. If we make A1, that would be D sharp. And so there we have it. So now we're looking at the lean forward into shape number 5, the Mixolydian shape, which you might call an Ionian A shape. Okay, so then let's move it back and say, okay, now we're back here, but what if I don't know it by that node, but I know it by the top string? So there's one here, that would be shape number 4, but let's go to the 12th fret so it's not in open position, so that if I played it there, that would be what I would call the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape, or shape number 4. So it would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So if I imagined that this node was the top of shape number 4, then I can play this and just account for the kink in the tuning. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, kink in the tuning, 2, 3, shifting up for the kink in the tuning. So that means I can visualize this as though it was the top string of shape number 4. Okay, so if I did that, why does that work? Well, I could count it out from either this node or that node. It would be two ticks down. Each tick down is 5 ticks to the right. So that would be 10 ticks to the right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. 3 ticks to the right plus 4 o'clock, which would get me to 7 o'clock. If I do it from here, it would be 2 ticks down. 2 ticks down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. What? 2 tick would be 10, and then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There it is. And then 15 minus 12 would be 5, minus 2 would be 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 o'clock plus 3 would be 7. So once again, we get to 7. All right, so there it is. So now if we analyze our nodes, now I'm leaning forward into shape number, my finger is still on the star of G, but now underneath it, the planet has spun, or it's rotated in whatever way you want to rotate it, because it's a totally symmetrical planet we're imagining. That gives us then the Phrygian node underneath it, leaning forward then into shape number 5, leaning backwards into shape number 4. All right, so then what changed? Well, this is in the ocean now. That is the second modal half-step third scale degree. That makes sense because the Mixolydian is part of the long start group, or the major group, with a long second modal half-step third scale degree, and the Phrygian is part of the short start group, meaning it has a short second modal half-step third scale degree, and which is only 3 notes away. So if I'm on nodal point 5, 2 modal half-steps up would be 3, 4, 5. So it should be this one, which is actually 3 notes away. It's a shorter distance because there's 5 notes between the string 4, 3. Okay, and then the fourth modal half-step fifth is in the same relative position because it's a long fifth, and every point that we measure from has a long fourth modal half-step fifth scale degree, except if we measure from nodal point 7, the Locrian. So it's a 7-note away distance. That means that nodal point 7, Locrian, is always the Phrygian, fourth modal half-step, the Phrygian fifth scale degree, which has a long distance of 7 notes away. The sixth modal half-step, 7th, is also not in the ocean, and that's because although the Mixolydian is in the long start group, or the major group, having a long second modal half-step or third scale degree, it has a short sixth modal half-step or 7th scale degree, as does all the distances from all the people in the short start group, which you could call the minors, right? So that means it's a 10-note away distance instead of a 11-note away distance. That means that nodal point number 2, Dorian, is always the Phrygian 6th modal half-step 7th scale degree, and it has a short distance of 10 notes away instead of 11. Now this one's in the ocean. The one we're focused on is the 8th modal half-step 9th scale degree, and which is equivalent to the 1st modal half-step 2nd scale degree from a local distance, and it is in the ocean because Phrygian has a short 1st modal half-step 2nd scale degree, which we can see because it's in the back of what I call Ionian's house here, the box. It's in the basement. So it's got a 1-note away distance to the 1st modal half-step 2nd scale degree instead of 2. So if we think about that, that's going to be 3 plus 1 modal half-step would be 4. That means that the Lydian is always the Phrygian's, if we build a chord out of it, the Phrygian's 4th modal whole step times 2, 8th modal half step plus 1 9th scale degree. If it's 8 modal half steps up, that's over an octave when we think about the 7-note collection. So 8 minus 7 would be 1. So it's the 1st modal half step or 2nd scale degree, which has a short distance, 1 note away instead of a long distance, 2 notes away, or you might call it minor versus major. All right, so that's going to be that. All right, makes perfect sense. Okay. So we're leaning back into shape number 4. So the 3rd is back here. I can bar the 7. And if you hit that 7, that's going to be quite clashy if I grab these two, because that's the tritone between nodal point, the Locrian, and the Lydian. If I remove the 7, it's still a little eerie. Versus the major. That's not the set. This is the fifth right here. I said it was the 7 because it's a look. That, yeah, what am I doing? That's the fourth modal half step, fifth away. That's the problem. This okay. The 7th is out here, Dorian. Sorry. All right, let's look at it this way. And say, okay, what if I map out the whole planet and I have the constellation of the stars on top of it represented by the fretboard, so that this, I have my finger on the star of G, which I can see because of the fretboard is in 4 o'clock, collection of notes around the key of C major, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third fret down from the ceiling is the star of G, and I want to then make it a Phrygian. Okay, if I find the Phrygian on the same string, it's back here, leaning forward. Anytime the box is on the second and third string, I'm leaning forward into shape number 5, or the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape. So that means I need to move it up 1, 2, 3 ticks. So that would mean if I'm at 4 o'clock plus 3, that means this Ionian is going to move up 3 ticks to 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, which is, if you make A1, 7 would be D sharp. So there it is from the perspective of the yellow now. Then I'm still 5 frets up, 3 strings down, but I'm now leaning forward into shape number 5, the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape, bringing that back. What if I only know the shape from the top string? Like here, this is leaning forward into shape number 4. Could I play this from here as though it was the top string of shape number 4? I could. Why could I do that? Because you might call this the Phrygian / Lydian shape, or you might call it the Ionian C shape. That works because I can think about this moving down 2 ticks, each tick equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. That would be 10 ticks. Plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 15 ticks. 15 is over 12, so we've gone around the circle. 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. So it's a net of 3 ticks. And 4 o'clock plus 3 once again gets us to 7. So if I do that, there it is. So now from the yellow's perspective, it's still the 5th fret up, 3rd string down, leaning forward into shape number 5, Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape, but I can see from the red that I can visualize that as equivalent to the top string of shape number 4, as long as I adjust for the kink in the tuning. All right, let's go over here and visualize it this way. Now I've mapped out the entire constellation, all the stars up top, all the constellations, but I'm focused on my constellation, which is in the shape of a fretboard. And so once again, I can see now the open E is nodal point 3, the open A is nodal point 6, the open D is nodal point 2, the open G is nodal point 5, the open B is nodal point 7, the open E is nodal point 3. 5 frets up, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 frets down is G, so I'm on the star of G once again. Okay, so then I can see that I have I want to make it this nodal point 3 over here, the Phrygian node. So once again, I need to move. Then I could see this Phrygian node is in shape number 5, and this is currently leaning forward in shape number 1, or the Ionian C shape. So I have to move it forward 3 ticks to take me from 4 o'clock, which is represented by the Ionian on the C, to 7 o'clock. So I'm going to do. So there it is. So now we're leaning forward from here into shape number 5, the Mixolydian shape, or the Ionian A shape, which I can see is 7 o'clock by the fact that D sharp, note number 7, if you make A1, is the Ionian node. All right, let's go back. And then we're going to say now that we want to bring, I could say, well, what if I know it from up here? I'm leaning forward into shape number 4, and I want to bring that down here, So how can I, and imagine this as though it was the top string of shape number 4. That would be 2 ticks down, which are equivalent to 10 ticks to the right, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 ticks plus 10 would be 15. 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is 3 ticks to the right net. 7 plus 3 is 7, so we'd be at 7 o'clock, which is once again D sharp. So if I do that, then I can see now that we are, from the perspective of the yellow, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets up, 3 strings down. We're at the star of G, leaning forward into shape number 5, Mixolydian shape, Ionian A shape, and we can also see that I can visualize that from the red as though it was the top string of shape number 4. Okay, now I have to pull this out a bit. Okay. I love that. That's such a cool thing. I feel like, I don't know. It's out of whack now. Something happened. Oh, now something is messed up. What is happening? I'm dizzy. Let me just, what if I just undo? There, now we're back. All right, just leave it there. Just don't touch it. Don't touch it anymore. Okay. I'm going to go back to here. All right, let's try to do one more. So I'm going to go back. So if I'm on Phrygian and I go back to 4 o'clock, then back to, then I want to make that nodal point 5, Mixolydian. There's a Mixolydian out here. So that means I can, if I'm at 7 o'clock, I'm going 1, 2, 3 ticks back. 7 minus 3 gets me back to 4 o'clock. So if I have my finger on the star of G, and it currently has the world spinning underneath it, is at 3 o'clock, Phrygian, leaning forward into shape number 5, and I put that to a 4, I'm going to visualize it moving back, boom. Okay, so now what is off? I'm back to 5th fret, 3rd string down, my finger's on the star of G, leaning forward into what I call shape number 1. You might call it the Aeolian shape or the Ionian G shape. And when I lean back now, I have 2 nodes, 2 points in my chord construction that are off. Why? Because the second modal half step 3rd scale degree is now back to a long start group nodal point, meaning the ones that we defined that have a long start to them, meaning the first jump to build a chord, second modal half step 3rd scale degree, is a long distance instead of a short distance, 3 notes away, 4 notes away instead of 3. So it should be 5 notes between the string and then 4 instead of back here to 3 on that one. The 4th modal half step 5th scale degree is the same relative position from the Mixolydian as well as the Phrygian, because it has a long 4th modal half step 5th scale degree, 7 notes away, as every nodal point does. If you measure the 4th modal half step 5th scale degree, they all have a 7-note distance, except if you measure from the continent of Locrian, because it's crazy continent. And then we have over here, this one didn't land in the ocean. That's going to be nodal 6th modal half step 7th scale degree. That's because even though it's a short distance, it matches the Mixolydian, even though it's in the long start group or the major group, because it has a short 6 modal half step third scale degree, which you might call minor, as do all of the what you might call short start modes or minor modes, or continents or distances from the continents, like the Phrygian. And then this one's in the ocean. That one's in the ocean because we're looking at the 8th modal half step 9th scale degree, which is equivalent to the 1st modal half step 2nd scale degree. And the Mixolydian has a long 8th modal half step 9th scale degree, which has a local distance of 2 notes away, as opposed to the Phrygian, which has a short 8th modal half step 9th scale degree. So we can see it's the 8th modal half step 9th scale degree. 8 minus 1 would be equivalent to 1 modal half step. If I'm on nodal point number 5, 5 plus 1 would be nodal point number 6. So it's going to be over here. Okay, so now let's say that we want to shift to the Dorian. So if I want to shift to the Dorian, then I could find the Dorian. I could say, okay, Dorian is in this shape, which is shape number 4. So now I'm going to say, okay, it's in shape number 4. Anytime the Dorian, anytime the third string down is Dorian, then I'm leaning forward into shape number 4, which you might call the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian C shape. So that means if I have my finger on the star of G, one way I can think about it is to say, or I could play it this way. Let's do it up here. If I play it up here as though it's not an open position, so it repeats on the 12th fret, then we're still in position 4. That would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Now, if I played that as though it was my Mixolydian, I could just play that shape exactly as though it was a Dorian, and that would be the conversion. That would be me starting to visualize it there, right? So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. So then I can say, okay, so what does that mean? Well, I could bring this one back. If I brought this back, if I'm on the star of G, then this would be going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 back. So I'm at nodal point number 4. Minus 7 would be negative 4, 5, negative 3. So I can't have a negative, so I'd have to say 12 minus 3 would be 9. So I believe that would take us to 9 o'clock. So if I go to 9 o'clock, boom, then there it is, Dorian. I imagine this one moved back here. 9 o'clock is F sharp, I believe, right? F sharp, if I make A the 1. So let's bring it back again to 4 o'clock. And what if I imagine this one going this way? It's the same thing because it's symmetrical and we're not taking octaves into account. So we're going to say if I imagine this one going up, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks to the right. If I'm at 4 o'clock plus 5, that would once again be 9 o'clock. So now I'm going to do it again, but I'm imagining not shifting this back, but this forward. Because it's symmetrical, we get to the same point, right? So there it is, boom. So I'm leaning forward into, once again, the Phrygian / Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape, shape number 4. Let's bring it back to a 4. Okay, so then I think it would be, like, you might also know it by the top string. So I can say, well, look, I don't know like where the Dorian is exactly, but I know from my top string that it's right there. So because I see that as my Dorian shape, or you might call it shape number 3, or from the Ionian's perspective, the Ionian D shape. So if I play it from there, here's the shape. If I played that, I know that shape. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. If I played this star of G as though it was the top string of what I think of as the Dorian shape, shape number 3, could I do that? Yeah, we could, as long as we adjust for the kink in the tuning. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kink in the tuning shifts this up here. 7, 1, 2. So why does that work? Well, I mean, I could count it out. That would be going 2 ticks down. 2 ticks down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right each, or 10 ticks to the right. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So once again, 5 ticks net. If I'm at 4 o'clock plus 5, that gets me to 9 o'clock again, and we're at the same spot. So if I imagine it, now I'm going to imagine not shifting left, not shifting right, but this goes down 2 ticks, and then to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As that happens, these two are going to go down 2 ticks over here, but as they go down 2 ticks, they're going to shift because of the warp, which, because it's like it's dipped in ocean, they're going to be shift to the right, and then they're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going back a net of 4 because of that kink. So right, so if you could visualize that, which I can't fully visualize, but you can, if you could, some people could, I'm sure. If you play a lot of video games, you could probably visualize that. So let's go back to 4. And then what if I don't know it from there, but I know it from here? So this would be the quickest way to get there. Like if I'm in a band or something and I want to play it like a drum circle, you know, where someone just calls out 2 ticks to the left, 2 ticks to the right, up, down, and you just kind of shift the rhythm, so on. Then the fastest way to get there wouldn't be to say 5, might not be to say, 7 ticks or 5 ticks right, 7 ticks left, but 1 tick down. And then you can indicate it with a hoof. A horse could do it, right? So 1 tick down would be equivalent to 5 ticks to the right, or 7 to the left. Why? Because if I'm at 4 o'clock and I say 4 o'clock plus 5, that would get me to 9 o'clock. Or if I say 4 o'clock minus 7, that's going to get me to negative 3 o'clock. 12 minus 3, 9 o'clock. All right, so we're going to say, let's bring it to 9 o'clock. And that's got a collection of notes around F. And let's analyze this now. So now we're on, my finger's on the star of G, and I'm leaning forward into what I would call shape number 5, the Mixolydian shape. You might call it the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or the Ionian D shape. I'm leaning backwards, therefore, into shape number 3, and I only have one node that is in the ocean. Why is that in the ocean? Because the Dorian is a short start group, meaning a minor group, which is defined by the second modal half step, third scale degree, being 3 notes away instead of 4. So second modal half step, if I'm on Dorian, plus 2 modal half steps, 2, 3, 4 would be the Lydian. That would be 5 notes between the strings, 5, 4, 3 as we go back. So that means that the nodal point 4, that's the Lydian, is always the Dorian's first modal whole step, Dorian's second modal half step, Dorian third scale degree, which has a short distance, 3 notes away instead of a long distance, 4 notes away, minor versus major. So then we see that the fourth modal half step fifth scale degree is in the same relative position, because all fourth modal half step fifth distances from every node are long distances, meaning 7 notes away, except for Locrian, which has a short distance of 6 notes away. So that means that nodal point 6, Aeolian, is always the Dorian's second modal whole step times 2, the Dorian's fourth modal half step, plus 1, the Dorian's fifth scale degree, which is a long distance, 7 notes away instead of 6 notes away. The sixth modal half step, 7th, is in the same relative position, and that's because the Mixolydian, although it's part of the long start group or major group, has a short 6th modal half step 7th scale degree, as do all the ones that belong to the short start group, which are the minor group. So that means that the Ionian is always the Dorian's third modal whole step times 2, Dorian 6th modal half step plus 1, Dorian 7th scale degree, which has a short distance of 10 notes away as opposed to a long distance of 11 notes away, which you might call minor versus major. And then we're focused on this one, which again has the same relative position, which looks weird. That's the weird one. Why is that weird? Because Mixolydian is part of what we think of as the long start group or the major group, and the Dorian is part of the short start group or the minor group. So you would think that maybe the eighth modal half step or ninth scale degree that we're focused on, which is equivalent to the first modal half step second scale degree in a local distance, would be long. I mean, would be short. But no, Dorian has a long distance for the eighth modal half step ninth scale degree. So again, we might as well just kind of memorize that from the perspective of the Dorian. So that means that the Phrygian here, the Phrygian node, is always Dorian's eighth modal half step or ninth scale degree, which is a long distance, which you can also say if it's 8 modal half steps up, that's over an octave when we're thinking about modal half steps because there's only 7 of them. So 8 minus 7 would be 1 modal half step, local distance 1 modal half step, which would be times 2 second scale degree. So you can see here that it has a long second modal half step. No, by the way, all of them have a long second modal half step, except for the Phrygian that we looked at before. That's why I was thinking of the 6. I keep getting the 6 and the 9 confused because I'm a little I get those backwards, but that's okay. So anyways, that's the idea. Let's try to analyze it over here real quick. Let's go. So now we're on the 6th fret, 5th fret up, 3rd string down, star of G, Mixolydian at 4 o'clock, meaning C major collection of notes. If I want to make it a Dorian, I could go this shape, which is shape number 4, which you might call the Phrygian / Lydian shape, or the G shape, or the Ionian C shape, would be going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks. If I'm at 4 o'clock plus 5 ticks, that's 9 o'clock, which would be F sharp. Boom. So there it is from the perspective of the orange. We're now 5th fret, 3rd string down, leaning into shape number 5, which you might call the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian C shape. We could also see it out here. There it is, the Dorian going this way, so that we're leaning into, once again, shape number 4, but an octave up. That means we would be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 back. If I'm at 4 o'clock minus 7, that would be negative 3 o'clock. 3 minus 12 would give us 9 o'clock. So I can move it back this way. Boom. From the perspective of the orange, we're still 5th fret up, 3rd string down, leaning into shape number 4, which would be the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian D shape. Okay, I might know it from the top shape, meaning I know this Dorian shape from the top string. That's going to be shape number 3, which you might call the Dorian shape, or you might call it from the Ionian's perspective, Ionian D shape. So if I move it that way, it's got to move down 2 ticks, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks to the left. Each tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. That would be 10 ticks to the right minus 5 would give me a net of 5 ticks to the right. So that means if I'm at 4 o'clock minus plus 5, that would get me to 9 o'clock. So 2 ticks down, and then this is going left. I think I might have got my directions, but that would be from the perspective of the orange, 5 frets up, 3 strings down, star of G, Dorian, leaning forward into the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian D shape or shape number 4. From the perspective of the red, we can see that that is equivalent as though we saw it as the top string of shape number 3. Shape number 3 is here, as long as we adjust for the kink in the tuning. So the quickest way to get there would be to say, well, look, there's a Dorian right above it. Let me just say that it's going to be 1 tick down. 1 tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. So if I go 1 tick down, that should get me there, because 4 o'clock plus 5 is 9 o'clock. Boom, 1 tick down. So there we have it from the perspective of the yellow. Then 5th fret up, 3rd string down, leaning forward into the Phrygian / Lydian shape or the Ionian C shape. From the perspective of the red, we can see it as though it was the 2nd string of shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape, or the Dorian or the Aeolian shape. All right, let's visualize it this way. Now we've got the full constellation. I'm on the star of G, and I want to say that I want to make it a Dorian. So now I can see that, once again, 5th fret up, 3rd string down. I can see now the G, and I can see that the Dorian in the collection of notes at 4 o'clock around the key of C, Ionian C, happens to be a D. If I move this up under my finger, rotating the planet, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ticks to the right. Ionian's going to move up 5 ticks as well, meaning the Ionian's going to be going up to 4 o'clock plus 5, 9 o'clock. The Ionian's going to land on an F. All right, so we'll go. So there we have it. And okay, so now I can see that this is still from the perspective of the orange, 5th fret up, 3rd string down, leaning forward into the Phrygian/Lydian shape, and I can see that I'm in 9 o'clock, which is an F, because the F is the Ionian. So I think that looks good. Let's bring this back. And then I have to put the sound effects in there now. When I do it that way, it gets messed up. I can't move the thing below it. It's going to get messed up. Okay, so then let's say, okay, well then I could say, what if I only know it from this D up top? So I know this D shape, which is shape number 3, or the Dorian shape. So I can think of that as though I'm playing it from the top string of shape number 3. I could do that. Why? Because if I shifted this down 2, 1, 2, that would be equivalent to 10 to the right, minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, a net of 5 to the right, which would be 4 o'clock plus 5, once again, 9 o'clock, or collection of notes around F. So if I go down 2 ticks, and then 5 to the right, I get there. And so now I can see from the perspective of the yellow, 5th fret up, 3rd string down, still the star of G, but now it's going to be a Dorian node leaning forward from the perspective of the yellow into the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape, or shape number 4. But from the perspective of the red, I can see that I can kind of visualize that as though it was the top string of shape number 3. See, shape number 3 would be here from this perspective, or here, around like that. Okay, so then let's go back. Now, the quickest way to get there would be to say, well, there's a Dorian right above it. So I'm leaning forward into shape number 1. My finger's on the star of G, but there's a Dorian right above it. Can't I shift that down? I could. If I shift it down, it would be like I can start to visualize it as though I'm playing this string as though it was the 2nd string down from the ceiling of shape number 1. And I could do that because if I do that, then from the perspective of the orange now, 5th fret up, 3rd string down is now a D. I'm leaning forward once again to the Phrygian/Lydian shape, or the Ionian C shape, or shape number 4. But the red is telling us that I could kind of visualize that as though it's the 2nd string down of shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape, or the Ionian G shape, or the Aeolian shape. It's not Aeolian here because it's in the perspective of the yellow, but right, I could do it as long as I adjust for the kink in the tuning. That's the key. That's the key. All right. What does the key do? I don't know. That's the key. All right. It's the key.